Welcome. Welcome to the annual meeting of the Friends of the Detroit River for 2020. Um, you might see from the background here that we're in some exotic place, and that exotic place isn't some place way up north. It happens to be right here in southeast Michigan. It's actually in Humbug Marsh, in the Handler Drain. We're probably about 3/4 of a mile south of the John D. Dingell Visitor Center of the International Wildlife Refuge. This is one of my favorite places on the river. It's just so peaceful and beautiful, full of wildlife, and also as we from FDR look at Humbug Marsh, we can take a little time to think that we had something to do with saving this place, and now it's going to be saved for our children and our grandchildren and generations beyond that, and it's just a very special place. Unfortunately, it happens to be hunting season also, so this is just one of the one of the things that can be done in a wildlife refuge. But anyway, thank you for joining us for our annual meeting. As you can see, it's a little different format than our usual annual meeting, which is usually in a restaurant, and I'm standing behind a podium. And I'm happy to be sitting in my kayak instead, in a place that I love to spend time in. So what we're going to do here for our segment of the annual meeting is I'm going to just talk a little bit about our staff and our board, and then talk about some of the events that we do, and thank some of the proper people for what they have done. I'm going to try to mention, if I can remember, to mention the resident city of each one of our board members and staff, just to show you, people from all over are parts of our team, and whether they're really close to the river. We have some board members that live right on the river, and then we have some that are miles and miles away from the river. But what we have in common is a passion for the Detroit River, to protect and improve the Detroit River, and that's what the Friends of the Detroit River have been doing for many, many, many years. So first of all, talk about our board. We have an 11-member board. There's a chairman, which is me, David Howell. I live in Riverview. Our vice chair is Melissa Damashki, and she lives in Bloomfield Township. She works for the Herb Family Foundation. Caleb McRobb is our secretary, and she lives in Northville. And Matt Shackelford is our treasurer. He lives in Livonia. Matt is a biologist for DTE Energy and provides a lot of important guidance to us on the biology side. The rest of our board is also very critical to what we do. Mary Bowling is from Allen Park, and Mary works for Michigan Sea Grant, and also is one of the founders of Downriver Link Greenways. Ron Fader is a former FDR secretary and a longtime board member. He lives in Taylor. And then Lorraine Griffin is from Dearborn, and she is our newsletter editor. We have a couple of new board members, relatively new. Mark Johnson from Grosse Ile, and Lydia Levinson from Detroit. Also, one of our most long-serving board members is Jane Mackey. Jane lives probably about a mile or two from here in Gibraltar. And then there's Michael Spruill from St. Clair Shores. And then, and just to make a point about our board, I'm proud to say that, all of our board members are volunteers that do this because they care about the river and want to make the river better and want to make our organization proud. So we are happy to spend that time that we do trying to make this a better organization. But we do have a paid staff also, which gets most of the work done. And those people it's a great team. It's an outstanding group of people. The staff is led by our Director of Operations, Tricia Blacharski from Woodhaven. And Tricia kind of runs the show. Everybody kind of reports to Tricia, and pretty much everything that happens with FDR kind of has to go through Tricia. Tricia's from Woodhaven. And then many of you probably know Bob Burns, the Detroit Riverkeeper. He's been Detroit Riverkeeper since 2002. You'll be hearing from him later on in this annual meeting. He's a resident of a shoreline resident of Grosse Ile. And then from Riverview we have Luann Durand, and Luann is an able administrative assistant for Tricia and making sure that stuff in the office gets done and taken care of. And then from up in East Tawas, our grant writer and board advisor and project manager for many of our projects is Sam Lovell. And Sam makes sure that our grants get submitted properly and successfully, and then he oversees many of the habitat projects that we do. And his knowledge and experience is indispensable to the Friends of the Detroit River. And then Kaylee Peterson is from Lansing. She is our social media specialist, as well as works closely with Sam Lovell on habitat restoration projects, and make sure that we all do the right things as far as especially social media stuff that we are recently doing a little better job of. And then we have Jeremy Wechter, who is the guy that runs the Eat Safe Fish program, which is sponsored by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. And Jeremy does a lot of outreach to anglers up and down the river, and letting them know what's going on with the river as far as the safety of the fish and other things related to fishing up and down the Detroit River. And all together, 11-member board and a 6-member staff team. Everybody works together. People get along. People work really hard to make the Friends of the Detroit River a better organization, and hopefully help us to make a difference in our community. Our events throughout the year, it's been a rough year for events. Our year starts October 1 and goes to September 30, and so some of our events happened in this year. We had the Detroit River Water Festival in October of 2019, which brings hundreds of Detroit students to Belle Isle to learn about water resources. It's a 2-day festival that it really is a good way of trying to promote stewardship and raise awareness among students in the city about, for one thing, the special resource they have as Belle Isle Park, and then all the things that are important about water and taking care of our water resources. And so that was a pretty successful event this past year. Then we had we have a holiday party early December every year at our office in Taylor, and that's always a really nice social event, and just kind of mingle and socialize with our members and our friends that we do, and just eat, drink, and be merry, and have just a nice evening. And I doubt we will be able to do that this year, but we'll have to see about that. But when we turn the page into the year 2020, kind of a rough year 2020, but we did, our first event of the year was the Shiver on the River, which takes place on Belle Isle It's centered at the casino, but includes venues like the aquarium, the conservatory, the Dawson Great Lakes Museum, the Coast Guard Station, the Flynn Pavilion. And it's really a family-oriented event that gets people out to Belle Isle so they can see what a wonderful park that is. And it's right in our community here. And even in the winter, you can really get a lot out of a visit to Belle Isle. And so that's what we've done that about 17 or 18 years now. And I think it really has helped to highlight all the benefits of Belle Isle Park. Once we get past the Shiver on the River, we start planning for the Riverkeeper dinner in March. Conditions with the pandemic prohibited us from doing the Riverkeeper dinner back in March, I should say. And so we postponed it to October. That was hopeful. Turned out that was premature. We could not do it in October either, and so we had to cancel it. It's unfortunate because the Riverkeeper dinner is our most well-attended social event, and it is our biggest fundraiser. So it's unfortunate we're not able to do that because I think we all just look forward to being at the boat club and visiting with friends, and a lot of people from our partner organizations come to that event, and we really hope we can do it again in the spring of 2021. And then usually about a month after the Riverkeeper dinner, we do a Lower Detroit River cleanup. That was canceled also. And it was really unfortunate it was canceled this year because this was the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, and FDR had partnered with a total of 9 organizations on both the U.S. side and Canadian side to do what's called the global cleanup. So we were going to, all on the same day, have all these different organizations, different sites, do a river cleanup. And the whole idea was to promote stewardship of the Detroit River, to sort of promote the idea that there are organizations that care about the river that are all working year-round to make the river a better place. And we really were looking forward to doing that. It was going to be a real opportunity to raise awareness of what we all do, all our partner groups. But it was not possible to do it this year. So we're really hoping to 2021 we'll have a really grand global cleanup. But otherwise, throughout the year, we always have our restoration projects that we're working on, and even though the pandemic has limited in-person meetings, it hasn't stopped us from working on our projects. Our funding from the federal government has continued, so the funding has been there to be able to go ahead and work on these projects. So our staff has really been hard at work throughout all of this, working remotely in most cases to make sure these projects get moved forward and completed. So we had a couple of projects that have been recently completed. Stony Island and Celeron Island are done. Those turned out great. We are still dealing with a couple glitches with the Lake Okanoka project on Belle Isle, but that's mostly done. High water has complicated that project a little bit, but we did got most of it done. And then we have 2 projects that we're looking at doing before too long, which would be the Hennepin Marsh project and the Sugar Island project, and those we're hoping to get at least one of those started in 2021. We've also kind of enhanced our partnership with the Downriver Link Greenways. We got that big grant from the Ralph C. Wilson Foundation last year that helped us to establish our partnership with Downriver Link Greenways. And they now have a plan with the grant funding to identify the gaps in the downriver trail system, look at road crossings and make them safer, and then figure out what gaps can be worked on and where the funding is going to come from for those gaps. So that's an ongoing source of effort on our part that is going forward in a very successful way. Also, as we look forward, FDR looks forward to the next 3 to 5 years. We've got a consultant working with us on a strategic planning program that we are in the middle of now. The pandemic has complicated it a little bit because we're doing things remotely that we really would do better in person, but we're doing what we can do. And so some of you may have seen or been approached about doing surveys or providing input on what FDR is doing. We need to know what we're doing well, what we're not doing well, what we're not doing that we should be doing, and any other concerns that from the outside can help us with a perspective on where we need to go over the next few years. So if you are asked to fill out a survey regarding our strategic planning, we would really appreciate it if you completed it and submitted it to us. And it would not be an annual meeting without thanking our foundation supporters, particularly the Earp Family Foundation and the DTE Energy Foundation, both of which have supported FDR for a number of years. And then, of course, the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation now in the last year has been supporting our Greenway connection. And, of course, none of this would be possible without help and support from our membership and from our donors. And so we would like to thank them for their support, especially how they have boosted their support a little bit this year, knowing that we missed our funding that we would normally get from the Riverkeeper dinner. So we've had our members have stepped up and supported us with donations. So that's extremely appreciated. So we're going to have some other segments here in the annual meeting that you'll be seeing soon, including a presentation from our Riverkeeper, Bob Burns. But for now, I would just like to sign out from the wonderful place that we call Humbug Marsh, and hopefully we'll be able to have this marsh available for our children and grandchildren for years to come, and hopefully the visitor center here at the refuge will open soon, so more people can get out and enjoy and appreciate what a wonderful place this is. So thank you for your attention.
Hello everyone, I'm Robert Burns, an FDR staff member and your Detroit Riverkeeper. Welcome once again to our FDR annual meeting. Normally I would be talking to you in person, but due to the impacts of the COVID virus pandemic and the need for social distancing, we are all having to adjust to this new medium of web-based events. One of the benefits of using a web-based presentation is the fact that you can record a program from almost any location. Today I'm out here on the Detroit River at Ceylon Island at the site of one of our newly completed habitat restoration projects. For my presentation today, I would like to give you a rundown of some of the activities the Detroit Riverkeeper program has been working on over the course of this past year.
At the beginning of this fiscal year, the Detroit Riverkeeper Committee planned a busy schedule for the Detroit Riverkeeper. Our goals were to continue to move forward with all of our ongoing projects, programs, events, and river monitoring that is important to the work that we are doing towards the protecting and improving of the Detroit River. How we expected to go about implementing this year's ambitious work plan all changed this past spring when our country was all but shut down due to the spread of the COVID pandemic. Although we were able to continue to move forward with our river patrols, response to pollution reports, and all of our habitat restoration projects, which are currently underway, we unfortunately at the height of the COVID virus spread, had to cancel our Detroit Riverkeeper dinner event. Even under these circumstances, the Riverkeeper continued to provide support in the development and execution of the Detroit River Public Advisory Council's programs and towards the completion of the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative habitat restoration projects. The Riverkeeper also continued to work with the Council, Environmental Protection Agency, and the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, or EGLE, to find partners to remediate contaminated sediments in the Detroit River and to provide public outreach in support of all of these efforts currently underway. Work continued on the planning, permitting, and construction of our remaining habitat restoration projects. Completion of the Lake Okonoka project on Belle Isle is expected to be finished later this fall. Construction plans for the Sugar Island projects have been completed and have just been approved to proceed by U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, our partners and owners of this property. Construction plans for the North and South Hennepin Marsh habitat project sites are currently underway and review, and it is hoped that all three of these projects will move forward to the construction phase in the near future. Celeron Island, pictured in the slide, was completed last year and is already showing positive habitat impacts. As you can see in the pre-construction photos on the left, there is very little weed bed growth around the south end of the island. This is due to the turbulence generated by lake-driven waves. In the post-construction picture that was taken this summer, you can see the amount of additional suburgent plant growth that has occurred directly behind the new protective shoals. Wildlife has also benefited from the habitat restoration work that has been completed at each of our project sites. Monitoring at the Stony Island site has shown an increased use of the shoals and constructed habitat features. The mud puppy, a once abundant local river amphibian, has seen a dramatic decline in its population in recent years. Pre-construction monitoring surveys found no mud puppies around the island. Post-surveys, done the year after construction of the shoals were completed, found many mud puppies had taken up residence among the many underwater crevices of the newly constructed stone shoals. Many species of shorebirds and waterfowl, including these great blue heron, use the area and shoals to feed and roost. Out near the mouth of the lake, at the shoals at the south end of Celeron Island, several species of terns use one of the shoals to roost, which was specifically designed to attract them and other migratory shorebirds during their annual migrations. We have also seen a lot of fish activity in and around the shoals and underwater structures that have been created at each of our habitat restoration sites. Also at Celeron, on the inside of our North Shoal area, spawning gravel had been placed along the bottom. This summer, we observed a number of smallmouth bass using this site to construct their nests and lay eggs. For over a decade, the Detroit Riverkeeper has worked with EPA and EGLE to get both the Old Gibraltar and Trenton McCloud Steel sites cleaned up. Last fall, a group was formed called the Community Advisory Group, or CAG. The CAG is an informal group of people made up of interested residents, business leaders, local government representatives, and concerned organizations like FDR that have all come together to form this group. The formation of this group was facilitated by EPA in order to act as a liaison between regulators and general public. Although it has no decision-making authority, it does have the ability to directly communicate concerns to the regulatory agencies overseeing the hazardous waste cleanups at the Trenton McCloud Steel site. The Detroit Riverkeeper serves as the representative for the Friends of the Detroit River. Demolition and cleanup of the site continues to progress. Since work first began last fall, all but a couple of the original 45 structures have been demolished and removed. The work continues in pumping out and removing the water, oils, and liquids that have collected in the basements and sumps of several of the mill buildings, and the removal of any remaining asbestos-containing materials. This work is expected to be completed in the next few months. The Detroit Riverkeeper, along with members of the Detroit River PAC, last December, within days of the initial report of the bank slide-in up at the old Revere Dock site in Detroit, put together a boat trip up to the site to make observations and obtain aerial drone footage to document the extent of the slide-in. Following this activity, the Riverkeeper attended several public meetings to voice concerns about potential impacts to this slide-in material would have to the Detroit River, and pushed for measures to be put in place to prevent any additional migration of materials off-site until a plan could be implemented to stabilize the shoreline and remove the slide-in material from the river. Since our initial input, A plan has been developed to stabilize the shoreline with a new seawall, remove and dispose of the materials that slid into the river, while at the same time keeping an impermeable curtain in place in the river to prevent any further migration of slided material downstream until the work can be completed. Earlier this month, FDR learned that an agreement had been signed, a permit issued, and the work authorized to commence. The Detroit Riverkeeper continued periodic river patrols this year out on the Detroit River. While out on the water, we are always keeping an eye out for unusual discharges from stormwater, combined sewer, and industrial outfalls located along the length of the river. This spring, we received a report about a large number of dead fish that were seen washed up on the shorelines around the lower river. The dead fish were determined to be shad. Shad are susceptible to rapid changes in water temperature and can die from the shock. However, some of the shad tested positive for the VHS virus that periodically killed them as well as other fish in the river in past years. The VHS virus is just one of nearly 200 invasive species that have impacted the Great Lakes. This virus is believed to have reached the Great Lakes in Atlantic salmon, coming through the St. Lawrence Seaway lock system. The Riverkeeper also followed up on several pollution reports last year, many of which came in to us via our River Watch program. We received a report and confirmed a fuel spill in Trenton on the Frankenpullet Creek. This resulted in a cleanup effort performed by Marine Pollution Control, who sent out a crew to place booms across the creek and vacuumed up what was later determined to be a small amount of diesel fuel spilled into the creek. If you would like more information on how to participate in our River Watch programs, please visit our FDR website. We rely on these additional eyes on the river and will respond to any reports received. Even with the constraints of COVID and employing the use of recommended preventative measures, we still were able to help local research and data gathering to continue. In July, the Riverkeeper helped a group of staff and students from Wayne State University get out on the river to collect water samples and sediment samples looking for signs of PFAS contamination. Continued support of local research and education is an important component of our Riverkeeper program. As David mentioned earlier in his report, although the COVID outbreak prevented us from holding our spring cleanup and Riverkeeper dinner event this year, we want to thank all of our members, volunteers, partners, and funders for their support. This has been a difficult time, but because of the continued support that our organization has received and the dedication of our staff, we have been able to move forward in continuing our efforts to protect and improve our Detroit River watershed. I look forward to seeing everyone in person at next year's events. Thank you.
The Friends of the Detroit River as an organization has been around for quite some time now, since the early 1990s. Over the years, we have accomplished a lot, and those accomplishments have been possible by the dedicated work of people in our organization, board members, supporters, donors. All these years, we have been moving forward on the environment and making a big difference. And of course, we've seen that in recent years with our habitat restoration projects and so on. And over the years, we have given out awards to people that we have admired for their contributions to the environment and to the Detroit River. But we gave some thought to the fact that maybe we should have an award that honors someone from the Friends of the Detroit River itself, one of our board members or members that has made significant contributions to the organization over a number of years. So we devised an award called the Don A. Griffin Award for outstanding contributions to the Friends of the Detroit River. It's named after Don A. Griffin because Don was one of the founding members of FDR, and Don was a driving force throughout the years for various things that we were doing, and particularly to save Humbug Marsh. And at one point, I believe it was 2005, Don was awarded the Petoskey Prize, it's from the Michigan Environmental Council. It's really the highest award that a citizen volunteer can get for contributions to grassroots development and stewardship and those sorts of things. It's
you know, it's a wonderful award, and Don is the only FDR member that has ever received that award, and we were very proud that when he did receive it. So we felt like when we were coming up with an organizational award, that he would be an appropriate person to name it after. He was on the board from the beginning until he passed away in 2006. He is one that persuaded many of us to join the Friends and to join the board. And so we have a debt of gratitude to Don over the years. But what this organization has done has not been possible without the contributions of many, many people. And there are certain special people that have done things above and beyond that we want to recognize by this award. And this award is not going to be an annual award. It's only going to be an award for a particular person when conditions warrant. So we don't, because if we do one every year, it may not mean as much as if we do it when it represents outstanding contributions. And so I would like to take this opportunity, and it's my honor, to present the first annual Don A. Griffin Award for outstanding contributions to FDR to Jane Mackey. And I'd like Jane to come up here and receive the award. She is here. She's a little shy, but she's coming. And this is the award. And it's notable in that it has a picture of Belle Isle on it, and also a picture of the big celebration that we had in 2004 to celebrate Humbug Marsh coming into public ownership. And the reason we honor Jane today is because of her lifelong dedication to the environment. She has been with the Friends of the Detroit River since the early 90s when the organization got going. She was the chair of the organization throughout the fight to save Humbug Marsh. And since then, she has been a board member all those years since. And if you go to a meeting somewhere in Southeast Michigan, there's a good chance you're going to find Jane there at that meeting. She represents FDR at countless meetings every year and has always been a passionate supporter of the environment and the Detroit River. So we're very honored to be able to give this award to Jane, and I'm now going to turn it over to Jane and let her tell us her thoughts about receiving the award.
Oh my goodness, it's overwhelming to me to receive this award, because without all of the other people that have given so much for so long, that it's too bad we can share it together. It's hard to believe that I would be speechless, but the fact that it has the picture of Belle Isle on it. I too worked for the salvation of Belle Isle as a park when they talked about putting an apartment or a complex on the island itself. So that's thank you to so many people, so many giving, positive thinking people with respect for the river, with respect for the environment. And I could go on forever, I know, about the environment, but we do need to get more people more involved with standard of cleanliness on our water and on our air, and pay attention more to the scientific proofs that have been given, but sometimes ignored. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Jane.